Hi, it's another Facebook Live from Glue.
Hello.
I'm Rob Harrison.
And I'm David Wilson.
And we're going to do a bit about how we actually get tripped up ourselves by the depth to which we go into looking into people's propositions and actually our own proposition. And we sometimes go too deep. And we are using something that actually I suppose is stolen a little bit from Simon Sinek. To do with what, who and why. And we're going to talk about how organisations can get the balance right between those three to make themselves understood and what they do understood by their target audiences.
And I suppose this is something very much that you would do perhaps in a networking environment. If you walk in and say, somebody says, well, what do you do? It's the response that you have to that. But equally, if your own brand, your marketing, this is very relevant to think about that as well.
So these three concentric circles are going to represent as a whole kind of like the proposition, the way an organisation presents itself to the outside world. And I'm going to try and write this backwards because I think the image is flipped for Facebook. So this outer circle,
good luck with that,
is about the what.
Hopefully, yes, I think you can read that, yes.
And this inner circle is about the how. And the very inner circle is about the why.
I think that's amazing. That
hopefully that works. But interestingly, we started off looking, I suppose, networking and going out and talking about our what, which is we do graphic design, which for a while served us, but actually we realised it didn't in any way differentiate us.
And most people do that. They'll say, I'm an accountant, I'm a solicitor, I'm a builder. It's what we all do. It's the easy thing to say.
And when we went through a little bit of a renaissance, we dug a bit deeper into how we do what we do and why we do it. And we ended up discovering that how we do it is by taking a deep viewpoint on the organisations we work with, getting a genuine, insightful understanding of what they're doing and how they're doing it in a way that's different from their competitors, that's valuable to their customers. And then the why bit we discovered for ourselves is because we believe every organisation, perhaps, well, in fact, indeed, every individual has something valuable and different to offer the world that often gets hidden, and we see it as our job to help that shine forward. Now, the trouble we came across was that we ended up getting so focused on the why, which was I guess about culture, about self-realisation, organisational pride, that we used that as the spearhead for our communications. Now, if you walk into a networking situation and somebody says, what do you do? And I said, we work on organisational pride. Well, that doesn't really say we do anything to do with websites, branding, literature, email marketing.
And actually we had a really good example of this where a client that we were working with contacted us and said, did we know any graphic designers? And I was like, hello, I am a graphic designer. So it was this kind of, they had completely thought we did something different. So we realised that we quite misaligned what we were doing, going too much into this.
So we've retrenched a bit, I hope not too far, and we've started to focus a bit more on the what we do, which is we do graphic design, but we try and speak about it in a way that begins to drive us towards the why. So I would say we do design for marketing and branding that sticks, so it's starting to try and link it with our name, but also link it to the fact that it's engaging because it gets to the why about the organisation that we're working with.
And if you think about it, if branding or marketing that sticks, that's about why organisational pride, because your staff or customers feel proud to be associated with you. There is a link in there that starts to make sense. So if you think about it.
So we then go on to talk about the how if we get the opportunity in a networking situation. Hopefully somebody will actually ask, so how do you do that? How do you make it stick? Well, we make it stick by getting this deep understanding of the organisation, often by actually interviewing everybody who's part of it, because we generally work with smaller organisations. If not, we'll do it through representative focus groups and the like. And that's where we get to an understanding of why people are motivated to work there, what drives them to come in every day, what interests them, what gets them excited every day, to help them keep alive that valuable difference that made them start working for the business or the industry that they're working with. So then hopefully you've conveyed a bit of that in your networking situation. And with a bit of luck, somebody will say, okay, well, I can understand how and what you do, but for goodness sake, why do you do it? What's the point? And then that gives us an opportunity to say, well, the reason why we do it is because we believe people often hide or forget what's valuably different about what they do. Because they do it every day, it becomes extremely ordinary to them. But that doesn't mean it isn't extraordinary for an outsider, and that's what we're interested in keeping alive. So that's our why. I think Simon Sinek focused very much on the why, and that's what got me hooked on the notion of the why, along with working with a business mentor. And absolutely, it's right and it's a necessary part. But I think what we've learned is that you have to take time in getting to it. You have to give people a concept of, a context for the industry you're working for, what you actually do.
Yeah, and also there's an element that if you are in that first engagement with the customer, you need to be able to talk about things that they are probably going to understand. So somebody may well need help with getting their staff to engage in what the organisation does in an effective way, which is in here. But at the end of the day, they're probably going to not realise that they need that service or realise that it has any value. So you have to talk about something a bit less complicated to get them to engage. And that then tends to be a more effective way of getting your customers into this more valuable part of what you do.
Yeah, so for us, it's meant we realise pretty often the way we'll engage with people is on quite a tactical level, maybe a leaflet or a business card or something like that. But that begins to give us the opportunity to start showing how we do it, and then the opportunity to talk about the why, and that then gives us the wider opportunity to talk about their brand, not just the marketing tactics they're using. It's been a really interesting learning process for us. It started out with this too much of the what, and the danger with that is that you feel like you're being pigeonholed and you go into a networking environment and say, I'm just another graphic designer.
Yes, there's no point of difference, there's no uniqueness about it. So that's the other side of just talking about that all the time, is you probably end up in a situation where you're competing with lots of people and there's no people just buy on price as opposed to buying on that you're the right people to do the job in your sector.
So the trick really is allowing yourself to be pigeonholed to begin with, but then very quickly finding a way of breaking that pigeonhole, of breaking that preconception of what you are. So the way we do it is by talking about this pun with glued and sticks, and then providing that you can see that they're still listening, it gives us an opportunity to say, well, we dig deep. We really understand the organisation from within. Ultimately, we would go into quite a lot of detail about a kind of a psychological metaphor between an organisation and an individual, and why their very essence is so important to selling them.
But you can already feel with going into that, but it starts to, people will probably glaze over a bit and go, I don't understand what they're
You're saying I'm boring.
No, not at all, but it's this general thing that some people watching this video now, after a couple of minutes, might go, oh, well, I'll watch that some other time. It's unfortunately our attention spans these days is, due to things like Facebook, are so short. So you've got to get something quickly. But people go, oh, right, okay, so you're in the design industry. I start to understand that.
So if we only had a moment to spare to get, or a moment of somebody's time to spare, if we start talking about our why, which is this valuable difference and whatnot, it doesn't make a lot of sense in the context of what we actually deliver at the end of the day. So we have to let's accept the pigeonhole to begin with, graphic designer, but let's quickly find a way of breaking out of it.
I think that's absolutely true. And so in essence, it's you have to have elements of all of this, and this is a phrase we've heard before, you have to dilute it for your own application. So in some sectors, if you're selling a product, then actually what you do, you sell clothes, you sell shoes, that might be quite relevant to say, well, you sell these brands. the difference there is possibly going to be customer service or price. So getting into this doesn't help so much. But if you're doing a consultancy service, then why and how you do it becomes increasingly more important.
And it happens that we're running a workshop about this very matter that helps organisations get to an understanding of their what, how and why, and start to articulate it. So if you're interested in attending that, just visit our website or go on Eventbrite. Look for I think it's called
Developing your unique proposition or something like that.
Yeah, it's sometime in March.
Can't remember. Are we good
Great
salesmen?
It's on our signature of our emails, and there'll be a link on the website. So hope you've enjoyed today's little talk, and we'll be back again in a few weeks' time.
Take care. Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Bye.